Hello everybody, welcome to Cosmic Waves Tarot. Thank you so much for being here today. For this video we have a reading for all, and this reading today will be about a family situation. So whether you have something going on with your own parents or child, maybe a sibling, maybe your in-laws, whatever kind of situation you are dealing with respect to your family, this reading is for you. I'm sure many people can relate because families can be really complicated, so whatever you're going through, you're not alone. And I'm just asking the tarot now to provide some insight, maybe some guidance on how we can deal with our family situations, whatever those are. So just take a moment while I'm shuffling to think about the situation you're dealing with, what you hope the outcome is. I'm going to shuffle one more time and take the first 3 cards in the deck. We have the 9 of Swords, which is called Fear in this deck. The 5 of Swords, which is called Defeat in this deck. And the Devil. So as we can see, this is clearly a bit of a difficult reading, just from the start. We have 2 Swords cards and 1 Major Arcana card, which is the Devil. I'll start with the Devil, because the Major Arcana cards send the strongest signal, and they have the most energy to them. So I'll start with this one. The Devil in the tarot signifies a situation or a person that we feel is outside of our control. It can be sometimes an addiction, or sometimes just a situation that demands too much of our time and attention. It's something that pulls us away from our true nature and brings us to a place of distraction and just feeling out of control, not like your usual self. And so if this situation is coming up with respect to a family member or a family situation, maybe you're seeing someone else that you love go through this. Maybe it's also happening to you, where a family member is bringing you down this path that you feel is not necessarily in your best interest. When the Devil comes up, the tarot is asking us to reassess and reprioritize how we're spending our time and who we're spending it with. So maybe if this is someone else in your family and you've seen this pattern come up, it's time to sit down and have maybe a difficult conversation with them, but ultimately it will be for their best interest to try and steer them back towards the correct path. On the other hand, if you feel like this is you and you have been influenced by this card, again, it's time to take a hard look at your life and your priorities and really try and understand what it is that is pulling you away from your better nature. What is distracting you? What is causing you mental anguish? What is pulling you away from the peace and the life that you want to lead? Whatever that is, it's time to get some distance so that you can have some perspective and step back and find a new path. So the Devil ultimately is something we need to get some distance from, whether it's someone else, whether it's an activity, whatever it may be. You need to try and minimize the influence of whatever the Devil is in your life. And maybe you need to help a family member or a loved one step away from their devil as well. Next, let's move on to the Five of Swords, which is called Defeat in this deck. By the way, I'm using the Field Tarot by Hannah Elizabeth Fofana, and what I really like about this deck is that each card has a name, not just the major arcana, but the major arcana as well. And as I said, the Five of Swords here is called Defeat. Swords in the tarot correspond to the mind and to logic and logical thinking. And so, of course, when the card is called Defeat, we know that there has been some sort of mental game, maybe some psychological games being played that ultimately are not in anyone's best interest, and certainly not in your best interest. When this card comes up, it shows that there has been some sort of trickery or some sort of, bad influence. It is sometimes called deceit in other decks. So there's been some sort of subterfuge, or something is not what it seems. You've been a little bit led astray. So if this is you and you are feeling like this with respect to a family member of yours, it's time to again step back and reassess how you're dealing with this person. If you feel defeated by them and how they're acting, maybe it's a good time to put up some boundaries and have some distance. If you feel that your energy has been this defeat card, and maybe you're playing these mind games on someone else, again, it's time to step back and reassess and to act more fairly and more justly with them. The Swords suite can be very harsh in the tarot, and so maybe it's time to bring in some more energy, like the Cups cards that correspond to emotion, or even the Wands cards that correspond to energy and passion and creativity. The Swords can be very harsh and not what we want to see when dealing with a family situation. And the same theme continues with our Nine of Swords, which is called Fear in this deck. Obviously, this card shows someone who is sleeping, but this whole array of swords is balanced above their head, and it seems like they are not sleeping very easily under these swords. In the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, this person is sitting up in bed, they're holding their head, and they look like they've just woken up from a nightmare. And here too, this person seems like she's sleeping a little bit fitfully, and she's just not at ease under these swords. As you can probably guess, this card comes up when there's a situation that is stressing us out, and especially the possibilities or the potential are weighing heavily on our mind. This comes up when we feel anxious, but it's not certain whether or not the situation will actually come to pass the way that you think it might. So when this card comes up, we feel fear and anxiety, but we're not sure if our worst fears will actually be realized, and they may in fact come to be not as big of a deal as we might be worried about. As you can see, again, this person is sleeping peacefully in their bed. So they're not actually in any real danger, but they do have this idea or this kind of anxiety hanging over their head. So if this is what you have felt with respect to a family situation, maybe you feel the influence of the devil and the Five of Swords, and so you are worried for someone else in your family. If that's the case, the best way to break out of this feeling is by taking some action. This figure here is laying in bed, but when it's time for them to get up and do something, they should take steps to remedy this situation. So if there's something that you can do, like as we discussed earlier, having maybe a difficult conversation with someone, instituting some boundaries, something to that effect. That will help ease this energy of the Nine of Swords. If, on the other hand, you fear that there is nothing you can do and you are stuck in this kind of situation, you have to wait for the Nine of Swords to pass and just hope that what you fear is not actually what is going to happen. These cards altogether do tell a fairly difficult story, so if this is a family member of yours or a situation that you are going through, I hope it is not as dramatic as these cards do suggest. If this is you and someone else in your family is causing this situation for you, I hope that you can have the distance you need and the time and space you need to get away from this energy and maybe get to a more calm and grounded place. If you are worried that someone else in your family is going through this, please do reach out to them. This is certainly not an easy energy, and it looks like whoever this is could definitely use some compassion and a comforting, familiar presence in their life. So whatever situation applies to you, I hope that it passes quickly and easily, and I hope you can get the answers you need. As always, if you're interested in an individual reading, I am very happy to do those as well. So please comment with your question or situation, and I will do a personal tarot reading for you and share it so that everyone can learn together. As always, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I hope this reading was insightful, and I'm sorry it's not a better energy, but sometimes the tarot just really shows us what the situation is, good or bad. It's all just a mirror. Thank you again. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as I said, I hope this energy passes easily. I'm wishing you all the best.